The afternoon sun was merciless, beating down on the cracked pavement outside Jefferson Middle School. 13-year-old Amara Williams sat on the curb, hugging her backpack tightly to her chest as though it might shield her from the stares and whispers around her. The police cruiser parked across the street had already drawn curious eyes, but what hurt most was the laughter echoing from the officer leaning against the car. "Special Forces. Your mom." Officer Daniels smirked, his voice loud enough for every kid in the pickup line to hear. "That's a good one, sweetheart. Next thing you'll tell me is she's the president." His mocking tone cut deeper than the summer heat. The other kids laughed nervously, some covering their mouths, others whispering, but Amara just sat frozen, cheeks burning with shame. Amara's mother, Staff Sergeant Naomi Williams, had always told her, never shrink yourself to fit someone else's ignorance. But in that moment, Amara felt herself collapsing inward, too small, too powerless to defend her truth. She had only mentioned her mother's job because one of the other girls had been boasting about her father being a lawyer. Amara had wanted to join in, to share proudly who her mother was. Instead, she was being ridiculed by an adult in uniform, the very symbol of authority in her town. The challenge for Amara wasn't just this moment. It was every moment. Growing up as a black girl in a small town where she was often the only one, in classrooms, she carried the weight of explaining, justifying, and proving herself again and again. Teachers questioned her advanced placement scores. Kids asked if her hair was real. And now, a police officer was laughing at the one truth that made her proudest, her mom's service. But then, the air shifted. A black SUV pulled up at the edge of the lot, and the door swung open. Out stepped Naomi Williams, still in uniform, her stride steady, her presence commanding. Her boots hit the pavement with a confidence that seemed to silence the entire pickup line. Her beret sat tucked beneath her arm, and though she looked weary from travel, there was no mistaking the power in her posture. Officer Daniels straightened slightly but smirked again. "And you must be the mom. Special Forces, huh?" His words carried mock disbelief, but there was a flicker of uncertainty in his eyes as Naomi stopped just a few feet from him. "Yes," Naomi said calmly, her voice firm but not raised. "United States Army Special Forces. Green Beret. I've served for 12 years, completed multiple deployments, and trained soldiers in counterterrorism." "And you are?" The officer's smirk faltered. The kids, once giggling, were now wide-eyed and silent. Amara felt her chest swell, not just with pride, but with a rush of relief. For once, the truth didn't need her to defend it. It stood in front of her, tall and undeniable. But Naomi didn't stop there. She stepped closer, her gaze steady. "What you did just now, you mocked my daughter in front of her peers. You tried to strip her of her dignity because you assumed her truth was impossible. That's not just unprofessional, it's harmful. Kids remember moments like this. They carry them. And I will not allow you to be one of the reasons my daughter feels small." Daniels shifted uncomfortably, muttering something about, "just joking," but Naomi held up her hand. "There's nothing funny about teaching children that their pride in their family isn't valid. There's nothing funny about using your badge to belittle a child." The kids were silent, but their eyes told a different story. They weren't seeing just a mother defending her daughter, they were witnessing strength, justice, and the kind of courage that came from a life of sacrifice. Amara, still on the curb, felt tears prick at the corners of her eyes, not from shame this time, but from overwhelming pride. The resolution didn't come immediately. Daniels offered a forced apology, and the laughter had already left its sting. But the moment was powerful enough to shift something inside Amara. That night, as her mother tucked her into bed after a long day, Amara whispered, "I didn't know how to make them believe me. But then you came." Naomi kissed her forehead gently. "Baby, you don't ever have to make them believe. Your truth doesn't depend on their acceptance. Remember this, the people who laugh at you are often the ones too small to see beyond their own world. But you come from strength. You carry it in your blood." Amara held onto those words. And years later, when she stood at her own high school graduation, she thought back to that day, not as the moment she was humiliated, but as the day she learned what resilience looked like, what dignity sounded like, and how one person's courage could silence a crowd. The story of Officer Daniels faded into the background, but the story of Naomi Williams, the soldier, the mother, the example, remained etched in the hearts of everyone who had witnessed her walk onto that scene. And for Amara, it was the day she realized that sometimes the strongest battles aren't fought overseas in deserts or jungles, but right here at home, in schoolyards and sidewalks, where dignity and respect are on the line.